Good morning and a very warm welcome to today's second webinar from the Around the World series, this time with a focus on the South African music market. This is a co-production between Advantage Austria and Austrian Music Export. And my name is Rea de Leuning and I'm working for Advantage Austria. Advantage Austria is the Austrian foreign trade promotion organization, which is responsible for supporting companies based in Austria when they want to export their products and services. We have a very broad program to do this. We have a lot of funding possibilities. We have a broad network of offices around the world. We have 100 offices in 70 countries. We also do a lot of individual coaching and consulting. And we organize events in Austria and abroad where companies from Austria are warmly invited to participate. Within Advantage Austria, I am responsible for creative industries exports, which means companies from design, interior, fashion, film, arts, but of course also music. Before we start into the webinar, I will show you what we can offer for companies from the music industry. So as I mentioned, we organize a lot of events, always in cooperation with Austrian Music Export, such as participations in trade fairs such as WOMEX and Jazz Ahead. And we also co-organize B2B platforms such as Avant Premiere or South by Southwest. We also organize webinars such as this one and also conference sessions with the aim to offer insights in foreign music export markets. And as mentioned before, we also offer a lot of individual support through our network of international offices. In this case, through our office in Johannesburg, who can help you with finding relevant contacts or also do PR or answer technical questions about taxes or visa or contracts. And you are always more than welcome to contact them or me at the head office in Vienna. We also have funding possibilities if you decide to conquer new markets to export your services there. And we also help you to provide national and international networks. And as mentioned before, always in very close cooperation with Austrian Music Export. And I'm really very happy that my colleagues Franz Hergovich and Tatjana Domani are here with us today. And I would now like to hand over to Franz, who will share some insights on the South African market with us. Welcome, Franz.
Thank you, Rian. Good morning, everyone. I'm Franz from Austrian Music Export, and I'm very much looking forward to this webinar because I will see some familiar faces there. 2 years ago, I had the chance to travel to South Africa on a fact-finding mission for the European Commission, and I learned a lot. I've seen a fascinating country with a lot of diversity, extremely rich culture, a lot of different musical genres, a rich festival scene, a lot of business opportunities, but the best I've seen there was the people. I met a lot of people from different genres, from different actors in the music field, and they were all very supportive, helpful, and very, very nice. So in case you plan to work together with South Africa, you can not only expect a lot of musical interesting exchange or profitable business, but also a very nice personal experience, I guess. As a music export office, one of our key tasks is also providing information on Austrian music market, on the Austrian music scene and the Austrian music professionals. So this goes out to our South African friends. If you have any questions about Austrian music, if you want to get in touch with any Austrian music companies or professionals, you can always look at our website, musicexport.at, or get in touch with me or my colleague Tatjana directly.
Yes, hi, also a warm welcome and good morning from my side. I'm Tatjana from Austrian Music Export. As Franz said, we are a service organization for the Austrian music industry, but also the artists directly. And in the last 10 years, we've focused primarily on European markets and the live scene. So we were in partnership with festivals like Eurosonic Festival or Reeperbahn. And now that we are all stuck at home, for obvious reasons, we wanted to come up with a new project to keep up the international connections between Austria and the international music scene. And together with Rian, we worked on this webinar series to focus on new exciting markets that especially show a very strong digital growth, markets that we haven't been in touch with. There were a couple of Austrians that toured South Africa quite successfully. And with the Lighthouse Festival, there is also an Austrian festival project happening there. But more than that needs to happen, in my opinion. And with South Africa taking on such an exciting new role in the whole global music business, I'm very happy that our speakers are willing to share all the knowledge and know-how with us. And I hope we can sooner or later go back to meeting at physical events and festivals again and see you all finally in real life. And now I'd like to hand back to Rian, who will introduce the office in Johannesburg and her colleagues there.
Thank you very much, Franz and Tatjana. So now I would like to give the floor to my colleagues in South Africa in the Johannesburg office, to be precise, to Martin Meischel and Esther Cabau. Martin is the Austrian Trade Commissioner for South Africa and Southern Africa as a whole, as a region. And Esther is our project manager who is also responsible for anything creative. And I'm really happy to see you here. So the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Rian. Good morning from the Advantage Austria office in Johannesburg. My name is Martin Meischel. I'm the Trade Commissioner for Southern Africa. And I'm very happy to welcome both participants from Austria and from South Africa to this webinar today. I'm sure you're not here to hear about me talking. It's more about the experts we have lined up, and therefore I would like to hand over the stage to my colleague Esther Cabau.
Thank you so much, Martin, and once again a warm welcome to our panelists and everyone attending. It gives me pleasure to introduce to you our panelists for the day. Firstly, we have Teresho Selesho, who is the CEO of Matchbox Live Entertainment Company. His portfolio includes some of South Africa's most loved concerts and festivals, including Opi Kopi and the Drum Beats Festival. Thereafter, we have Dr. Sipho Sithole, who is the founder of Native Rhythm Records and the CEO of Afrocentric Agency, apologies. And thereafter, we have Andrew Mitchley, who is a South African music executive at a renowned independent record label company, as well as a music entrepreneur. So without any further ado, I'd like to hand over to Teresho Selesho, who's going to be preceded by his video. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Esther, for the warm welcome. Thank you to the Austrian Music Export Desk for the welcome and for this opportunity to present our exciting live music sector in South Africa. The video that I just played, everyone, is a snapshot of the festival called Opikopi, which we own, and it happens in the northern furthest part of South Africa in the middle of the bushveld, which is a very unique setting where we put some of the wild animals away in one camp, and we set up 6 permanent stages and welcome 10 to 20,000 live music fans that come through in celebration of music, celebration of arts, food, design, and photography. The festival is 25 years old, and we've done exchanges, cultural exchanges, and international tours with various artists from around the world for the past 2 decades. And it's one of South Africa's most trusted and revered festivals as well. We are part of a big festival community that speaks amongst various promoters, various brands that are now also involved in owning their own music festivals in South Africa. The beauty about the country and the settings that we have in terms of venues is we've got very non-traditional venues in that we do not have a lot of big arenas. We've got some key arenas that exist, but we've got the pleasure of setting up festivals in beautiful locations like the Opikopi farm that is in Limpopo as well. Some of the other non-traditional venues that exist would be stadiums. Music venues are quite limited. The traditional music venues, jazz clubs, and spaces that can take 100 people to 200 people are quite limited, which pushes promoters to be a lot more creative in finding new spaces that can at least capture people's imagination and create spaces where music can be shared and these type of beautiful experiences can be had as well. In the combination of the festivals that exist here, we always throw in different genres of music, from rock and roll, hip hop, to classic music, to jazz music, to comedy. And it is a way that we have managed to package what it is that brings us all together as well, so that it's not just about music. We try and capture people's imagination. We've created floats where we get the public to create some of the structures that are built on the festival. And this is a way of involving the public within the festivals that we create as well, so that they take full ownership of this festival that we create and present to them. This is a festival that we also do called Cotton Fest, that we partner with an artist called Ricky Rick, who is a legendary South African hip hop artist and is hosted in an old Johannesburg train station that was transformed to host a hip hop festival that started off on a subculture, which has now grown into one of the most revered young festivals, and is going to be touring around South Africa and around the rest of the continent. The exciting thing about where our live sector is at the moment is that it has matured and it has grown. We've got a lot of technical suppliers that are world-class, that are touring with big bands around the world. So we can easily plug in and receive a lot of international acts and tour concerts that we can take to other markets and take to different places around the world as well. And another festival that we're involved in is a festival owned by Black Coffee called Music is King, where it's a celebration of arts, music, and fashion. So in this image, you've got the revered Nelson Makamu, who's a celebrated visual artist, who's busy doing a live piece on Thandiswa Mazwai's dress as she's performing in front of 20,000 dance music fans. Dance music or house music that had never been presented in a concert venue with 20,000 people. So this was a landmark event that we did 3 years ago that has been growing strength by strength. We brought out Tom Misch and we brought out a few other artists as well. And it just shows the growth of what used to be called subculture has become culture. And people are listening to multiple types of music. And that music that is not even played on radio stations anymore, and it's sometimes started as SoundCloud music, and now it's filling up concert venues around the world as well. Other players that are also involved are brands. Brands are also starting to bring out international acts and doing their own concerts as well. So the market is not only governed or has players as the normal traditional promoter. It's multiple players that are in the market. And we are starting to also do a lot of regional tours on the continent where there's the North and South relation. So it's easy to now set up a tour in 3 different cities in South Africa, head out to Nairobi, and then head out to Ghana as well, so that the trip for an international act that we receive here is a worthwhile option as well. I'm very excited about the growth that is currently happening in the markets. With the year that we had last year, there was a lot of blood on the floor and the market did hurt, but we are busy in a decent recovery and communicating amongst ourselves as promoters on how we're going to get out of this current situation that we at as well. And it's quite important for us to keep these type of conversations with our fellow international colleagues around the world on how are we getting out of the situation that we're in, so that come 2022 and going forward, we come back stronger and we rebuild the sector that we all love as well. I'm going to hand over to my learned colleague, Dr. Sipho Sithole, who is a maverick, and he's going to be sharing a video. And thank you very much.
IGOTA is a Southern African festival touring circuit that facilitates the movement of artists and supports collaboration, creative expression, and the celebration of music and culture. IGOTA, a Zulu word that means knot or to bind together, a unique and innovative concept that brings together the finest music festivals within Southern Africa to create one of the first touring circuits on the African continent. IGOTA is a partnership born out of the Firefest fruit, including Baseline Africa Day, ASGO Festival, MTN Bushfire, Sakifo Festival, and Zakifo Festival. IGOTA is an exciting development both for local and international artists, festival professionals, and music fans from Southern Africa and across the world. The circuit presents an incredible opportunity for artists and fans to travel across Southern Africa, celebrating music and participating and strengthening the region's interconnected creative economies. ASGO Festival is Mozambique's finest international arts festival, bringing together a diverse and quality program of music, film, and dance to the city of Maputo across 2 days and nights.
ASGO, let's go!
Baseline's annual Baseline Africa Day concert is Africa's biggest celebration of African contemporary music. Hosted in the heart of Jozi, this concert is broadcast live on SABC2 to millions of music lovers across the globe. MTN Bushfire is Southern Africa's most diverse and inclusive world music festival, making it a sensory explosion of fun and activity for the whole family. The festival has achieved a worldwide reputation for its visionary approach, authenticity, and call to action for creating awareness of the need for social change. At the heart of the Indian Ocean, Sakifo in Creole is like a victorious rallying cry. That's what is needed. The Sakifo Festival schedules the great names of international music that seldom have the opportunity to perform in the region. Zakifo is Sakifo's African sister, an international music festival with an eclectic lineup ranging from pop through reggae, rock and world music, held annually on Durban, South Africa's world-famous beachfront.
Hello Africa, tell me how you doing. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction with the video that I wanted to share. I thought it would be appropriate just to start with that video, even though I will come back to it to contextualize the networking and the booking and what is happening in the region. But I must first say thank you very much to Austrian Music Export for inviting us and for allowing us to share with you what is happening in the South African music scene, in the market itself, and as you have seen with Theresho and what's happening with the festivals that he's involved in. So my presentation really is about networking, it's about booking, and it's about music marketing. And I was listening attentively to Franz when he was speaking about the Austrian music scene I've always been wondering as to when are we going to be fully networked with, even with Austria. And as I would be sharing with you, the other festivals that we are, music markets that we are networked with, and how we are interacting with the rest of the world, and how we are bringing artists to the world through the markets that we have been working with. But before I get there, I just want to share with you that the cultural and creative industries in this country makes a huge contribution to the GDP of South Africa. About 74.3 billion rands is contributed by the cultural and creative industries to GDP, and 5.3 of that is from the performing arts, and about 3 billion of that is from music itself. So it shows the big role that this industry is playing. And so with the COVID-19 pandemic, this sector was severely affected because it is a gig economy. It is on stage, it is performed in public spaces, in huge crowds. And as Theresho was talking about 30,000 or 20,000 people, that cannot happen. In the past 12 months, we could not enjoy something like that. But we are not perturbed. We continue being passionate about this sector, and we'll continue to do what we can do. And hopefully, in no time, we will be presenting the South African scene in Austria when the time permits, and when you've invited us to come and share with you what is happening there. And I thought I would start with the music markets, because you asked me to talk about how networked we are. The music market is well organized in this country, and Andrew will also talk more about the music, the record business itself. I'm going to talk about who do we interact with, how do we present what the records are marketing, are recording and producing when they release, how do we present the artist, and to whom do we present the artist, whether it's a music market, and how are the music managers and the talent and the booking agencies finding out where to present these artists. In South Africa, there is about 3 really main music conferences. Moshito, which I chaired for the biggest part, I think for 7 years. I'm no longer a part of it now. It takes place around September. It's a music market that has drawn over 30 other markets from around the world that come to South Africa every September. And we would be very keen also to talk to France about how do we introduce the Austrian into these markets. We have Music in Bizo, which is in Durban by the ocean. It is growing fast and really, really well. And we like what we are seeing. And we already see a lot of music markets coming to South Africa to attend this music market. It takes place in August. Music Exchange also takes place around September in Cape Town. So in these markets, as you would know, what happens, it's presentations, it's conferencing, it's exhibitions, it's showcases of artists that come from everywhere else around the world, including South Africa, in front of festival directors, booking agents, music promoters, talent scout, and all of that. And we have managed to also expand our reach where we participate in Europe and other islands. For instance, WOMEX roves around Europe, and then MAMA, which is separate from WOMEX, takes place in France. There's MAPAS in Tenerife, in Canary Island, an amazing music market that we attend, and that's where we present what we do in South Africa. There's Transmusicales in France. It's in a place called Rennes, and we've been there in our networking, and we're presenting the art and what South Africa has to offer. We've also interacted with North America, especially Global Toronto in Canada, and South by Southwest. So these are the markets that we are working with. And then if I continue to the next one, you will see also that we have worked with markets in other parts of the continent, Visa for Music in Morocco, Ongea in Kenya, Doa Doa in Uganda, Botswana International Music Market, Atlantic Music Expo in Cape Verde, and Access, which also roves around the continent, it is promoted by Music in Africa. Others, of course, is the Reunion Island, which is IOMA, Momix in Mauritius, Seculat in Colombia, Musica Minas in Brazil, Porto Musical in Brazil. So these are all the markets where we go and network and also present the artists for bookings, and we market what South Africa has to offer. And in terms of how network we are with the promoters, and Theresho spoke about big festivals and who's doing what. Baseline Festival. So this is an organization of music promoters in South Africa called Copenza. It's about 16 top promoters. So we have Baseline, we've got Cape Town Jazz there, we've got Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, we've got Opikopi, we've got Tribute Heroes Concert, big concerts, Us Exchange, Massive Metro, Massive and Breakout Entertainment, Awesome Festival, Showtime, Native Rhythms, I'm one of the promoters, and Glen 21. So this is how we share expertise, standardization, policies and procedures, technical expertise about how to put a good concert. And we can also share bookings as artists are moving around. I started with a video, which you saw called IGODA. It's a regional music festival network comprising of 5 festivals in 4 countries. And what we do with this festival is we share artists, we share the touring, the accommodation and all the costs. So we agree on what kind of artist top bills that will be circulating with that within those festivals, starting in May up until June. So we've got Asgo Festival in Maputo, Baseline in Joburg, Bushfire, Eswatini, Sakifo in Reunion Island, and Zakifo, which I'm involved with. So these are the type of festivals that we work with as we continue to network. And I would now want to present Andrew Mitchley, who will be talking about the state of the record business in South Africa. And I want to hand over to you from David Gresham Records. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sithole. Thank you very much, Theresho. Thank you to the team from Austrian Music Export. It's a great honor to be here to share some of our insights about the record business in South Africa. It's a great opportunity for us to connect with the rest of the world. I mean, we generally spend a lot of time traveling to places like Neben and the Amsterdam Dance Event and you know, the US and various trade fairs all over the world to share the wonderful African and South African message. But unfortunately, you know, just based on the crazy times that we're living in, you know, opportunities like this to connect are always welcome. So thank you very much to Martin and Esther for putting this together and for allowing us to share our insights. What I'm going to do is I've put together a very short presentation of the record business in South Africa. We're not going to be looking at anything other than purely record labels, record revenues, and giving you an insight as to how one could maximize opportunities both coming into South Africa and obviously you know, taking the great African music and talent to other parts of the world. It's quite interesting, in fact. Our company, David Gresham Records, has a great affiliation with an Austrian company called Rebeat, who have been our global distributor for digital service providers for the last 10 years. So it's great how things work out, and it's great to be speaking to my Austrian colleagues once again. Let's jump straight into it. This is what we're going to be covering in this short presentation. Obviously, the market snapshot, the prominent record labels in the local market, some collection societies with regards to recordings and audio-visual works, the key digital service providers in the market, licensing, creative opportunities, and a very short little snippet on synchronizations in the market, which kind of covers the key essentials in terms of record labels in the country when it comes to getting your work or creating revenue around your work. So if we look at the market snapshot very briefly, according to the IFPI report from 2019, obviously we haven't received 2020 yet, but we are ranked number 31 in the world. We have a recorded music market size of 49.4 million euros. And we had a growth rate of 18, let's call it 19% over that period, which is very exciting. If you look at where the revenue is generated, obviously 48% of that revenue is from streaming revenue, 33% of that is from performing rights, whether it be through neighboring rights or needle time or the audiovisual works. It does make up 33% of that. And then you have 2% of the market, which is for synchronizations. So that's a very short snippet of what our market looks like. Okay, so if we look at the prominent record labels that are marketing and distributing international records in South Africa, we have the three majors, obviously Sony, Universal, and Warner, who all have their own offices in South Africa. And then you've got the independent record labels that distribute international works locally, which is our company, David Gresham Records. You've got offices in Johannesburg and Cape Town. You've got Gallo Record Company and Next Music. So that would be great if you're looking for a local partner to work your records locally. But at the same time, and I really must stress this, there are over 5,000 independent record labels in South Africa, and they're all producing incredible African work, South African work, you know, whether it be vernacular or in local languages or local styles. There is a tremendous spectrum of record labels that one could reach out to get more content if you're looking at licensing our works around the world. And I would urge you to have a look at the Recording Industry of South Africa's website, which is at the bottom there, if you'd like to get in touch with any of them. I mean, there's so many. I mean, we could spend an entire day just be talking about record labels in South Africa and the great works that they've got. But please head on over to that website and check it out. All right, in terms of collection societies, in the last 5 years, one of the biggest growing sectors of our market has been the collection of neighboring rights or needle time by the Performing Rights Association, SAMPRA. They represent over 13,000 performers and over 5,000 record companies in South Africa. During COVID, it must be noted that over 10 million euros was paid to SAMPRA members, which was a tremendous help, considering that, you know, as Theresho and Dr. Sithole referred to, you know, it is a gig economy in South Africa. So certainly when it came to distributions of neighboring rights, it came at a very good time. And I mean, it's very exciting to understand that the local collection society for neighboring rights is operating at levels that are compared around the world. You know, they operate at a cost ratio between 17 and 20%, which is very good. And certainly the leading society on the continent when it comes to collection of works, and obviously the costs at which they do that at. So, you know, it's very important to have that, because you've obviously got the different revenue streams, but this is certainly the biggest revenue stream or sector that is growing in South Africa. Also to take note that the Neighbouring Rights Society, SAMPRA, is regulated by government, and it's incredibly well regulated, and you know, they've been mandated to operate at no more than 20%. So, you know, again, it's important that to understand that whilst revenues are increasing, they're also bringing costs down, which essentially creates more value for content owners and performers in our market. And then also from a music video point of view, interestingly, in South Africa, you have the two different societies, whereas in most societies in the world, it'll be one society collecting on audiovisual works. However, in South Africa, if you'd want your record collections, that would flow through SAMPRA, and if you want your audiovisual collections, that would go through RISA Audiovisual, which is so linked to RISA, obviously, and you can get information on their website, which I alluded to a little bit earlier. If we look at the top digital service providers in South Africa, and you know, these numbers are based on our catalog, and I would imagine it is a very close reflection of kind of the state of play across the board for African or South African record labels. But if we look at the top international DSPs for our content, we have Apple Music in first place, Spotify, followed by YouTube and Google, with Deezer, and then Facebook, which has been a new entry into our market from a revenue point of view. And then if you're an international distributor looking to get into the African market, I would highly recommend that you get licensing agreements in place with the likes of Jukes, which is owned by Tencent, Music Time, which also used to be called Simfi, which is owned by MTN, Boomplay, who also operate in a number of African markets. You've got the My Muse platform, which is owned by Vodacom, which is one of our biggest telcos. And then you've also got AudioMac, which is operating out of, well, they're very big in Nigeria at the moment. So they will give you a very good indication of, where one could expect to be generating revenue from an African point of view in the rest of the world, and from an international point of view in Africa. All right, in terms of licensing and creative opportunities, I mean, this is probably the most exciting part of the record industry in South Africa at the moment. And, certainly we're seeing a lot of intercontinental licensing and creative opportunities, whether it be through licensing, purely direct licensing, distributing into different markets and with marketing and promotion happening in those markets, or the collaborations, whether it be through performances on records, or songwriting creative opportunities. In fact, there were a number of South African songwriters that were nominated for Grammys this year, which is always really exciting. So if you're an international company and you're looking to make an impact in South Africa, if we look at kind of the top 4 genres that are doing very well at radio at the moment, you've obviously got pop, R&B, soul, and electronic dance music that does very well on radio in South Africa. And then if you're looking to export South African talent, you'd really be looking in these 4 categories, which would be amapiano, Afro-pop, dance, and hip-hop and rap, which are very exciting genres in South Africa. I can truly say that there are amazing creators in South Africa that create a very unique sound. And I'm sure Theresho and Dr. Sithole would echo these sentiments, but the African sound is becoming interwoven in the fabric of a lot of big international pop records, and we always encourage that we can get our works heard all over the world, because we know it is so unique and so diverse. From a synchronization point of view, it is a fairly limited market. Most of our campaigns are national campaigns, where a lot of the major brands that do invest into synchronizations are looking for either domestic or international hits. Also, what's quite interesting in our market is that the synchronization process always starts with the publisher. The publisher then sets the price, and the record labels will generally follow accordingly. Which is very important to note. So you'd also want to have a publishing link in South Africa to drive that process for you. In terms of the sectors for synchronizations that are purchasing a lot of these works for their campaigns, you've got the big telco operators, which would be Vodacom, MTN, Cell C, motor vehicle brands, obviously BMWs, the Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen. They do a lot of big campaigns. You've got the supermarket chains, alcoholic beverages, and the banking sector also participate quite a lot in the bigger campaigns, the national TV, radio, online campaigns, and that's essentially it. It's a very short snapshot, and we're looking forward to answering any questions that one may have in the market. Like I said, it's a very diverse market. It's a lot of incredible talent that can be heard all over the world and danced to and performed. And once again, thank you to the Austrian Music Exchange for putting this on for us today. And I would like to hand back over to Esther, who will be facilitating the question and answers with my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you to all of our previous speakers. This was indeed quite an insightful session. And yes, definitely looking forward to unpacking and responding to the questions that we have. I'd like to just invite everyone to turn on their webcams, just so that all the attendees can see you. And yeah, once we have that, then we can start with the questions. We've received a few. So I've got a question here, and I'm going to direct this to Andrew, because you spoke about revenue generation, and I wanted to know, do you think that there's a realistic chance for Austrian or European musicians and companies in the industry to work in and with South African music businesses?
Yes, absolutely. And I wouldn't imagine why not. I mean, I suppose one would need to look at what it is that you want to achieve in the local market. You know, some of the most successful records that we've broken either locally or internationally have been intercontinental collaborations. So you really got to choose, you know, whether it be a producer or songwriters or record label that you want to push your agenda with, and then figuring, okay, well, you know, is this sound right for South Africa, or do I need to bring in a South African flavor to this, you know, whether it be from a performer point of view or producer point of view, and then hopefully we can have the exchange both ways, because we'd also want an African sound that could, you know, work in Austria, and building that story across, you know, between the two territories. So yes, absolutely. You know, there is so much opportunity. At the end of the day, it comes down to the music, and if the music connects, you know, the world's your oyster.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned your cooperation with Rebeats. I just wanted to know if you could tell us about the nature of that cooperation or that partnership, and if you know of any SA Austrian other cooperations or partnerships within the music industry, or even SA European corporations.
Well, Rebeats is our distributor, so obviously we rely on them to put our music into all the stores in the world, all the digital service providers, be it Spotify, Apple Music, all over the world. It's a fantastic platform, particularly for record labels. It's more based on record labels as opposed to independent distributors, which are focused kind of only on artist, you know, singular artist releases. In terms of other European collaborations with African, you know, from I mean, we do a lot of it from a publishing point of view, from a record label point of view, you know, whether it be with BMG in Berlin, or you know, Ultra Records in New York. I mean, there's so many. It depends on what sector you're looking at. I mean, even from a tech point of view, we've got a couple of projects in the works at the moment, which are you know, both South African and international.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew. A question I have for Dr. Sithole. You spoke a lot on networking and the music market. What has been the largest or the greatest challenge in the music industry in a pandemic world? Obviously, borders have been tight, and it's created a lot of distance between how much and how far your reach is. So what do you believe is the greatest challenge to networking and the African music markets with the European music markets?
Thank you very much for that question, Esther. As I was sharing with you, just a small sample of the music markets that we take our music to, or either as participants in similar platforms like this, and or showcasing the artist. Ordinarily, we would have probably attended about 8 to 10 music markets taking place around the world, whether it's Visa for Music in Morocco, whether it's Seculat in Colombia, or in Tenerife, or in Brazil, and or Global Toronto, just so to speak. We couldn't do that, so which means we were not able to create showcasing opportunities for the artists that we represent in the country. And we did still have some of these music markets, but virtually, and some artists would have been requested then to prepare their set and then send the material for broadcasting, which was also quite innovative. But that contact of being at Womex amongst 4,000 to 6,000 delegates, or being at Neben, as Andrew was saying, you just feel that you miss that human contact, you know. Mm-hmm. The fact that you couldn't go to Sakifo in Reunion Island on a 3-day festival of 30,000 people. So these have been the challenges, apart from just no income, you know. There hasn't been income. We've done some of the virtual, for instance, my company, Watcha TV, I did about 30 virtual concerts. But then people got tired of these virtual concerts. It just became too much. They want to go out, they want to be at the venue, they want to be at the club, you know. And that has been the challenge. But I must say, take this opportunity to say that government has played a part in making sure that they alleviate the financial burden on some of our creatives. I mean, last year, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture released a COVID relief fund, which people applied. And again, last year, the president announced the 300 million rand employment stimulus program, which fortunately I'm part of the National Arts Council, which is a funding agency that distributes those grants. So we are overseeing the grants being distributed to 1,374 successful applicants. But the challenge is that, I mean, this music industry is projected to be, I'm talking about just the live performance, to be at 2.06 billion rand by 2023. Already it has exceeded 1.6 billion rand by 2020 in terms of live. So it shows, I mean, Andrew will tell you that the physical sales are almost non-existent. I think by 2023, it will only be 19 million rand worth of physical sales. When I started in this industry in 2003-04, we were selling about 1 billion rand of just physical, you know. But where we can see where the trend is going, it's live. But with this COVID, it's dead alive, you know, basically. That's what we are seeing right now.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that response. This question is for Theresho, and I think that it's a question that actually everybody could pitch in and give their own take on it. The nature of the live music scene has obviously greatly changed due to the pandemic, and live shows have had to be cancelled, and obviously music experts and artists have felt the burden of this. What does this mean for the future? How is the industry adapting to this huge change? And in a sense, because we're all digitizing and we're all going online to meet with each other like we're doing today, this does in fact make the world smaller, right? So that would mean that networking could be easier with Austrian or other European countries and artists from those regions. So what does this then mean for the future of not only live entertainment, but also networking and making the gap smaller between the Austrian music industry, South African music industry, or just throughout the entire globe at large? Theresho?
Thank you, Esther. I think that's a very pertinent question and an important question. And through this entire, well, this past year, I don't think the live music scene has been as intertwined and connected that it's ever been. It's always been a very fragmented space to operate in. Everyone operates their own businesses. It's quite competitive, and everyone has got their own individual strategies for their own businesses, festivals, and artist strategies as well, where during the lockdowns, we had multiple conversations amongst ourselves and amongst technical companies, amongst venues, and amongst our colleagues in Europe and North America. Like, we've never had those type of in-depth conversations before. So the relationships are a lot tighter. Even now, we've got WhatsApp groups, we've got chats on a weekly and a monthly basis to keep each other abreast of what is developing in Europe and how far they've come, North America, and what is happening in our own market, because we're in this together and we're sharing a lot of learnings that are coming out of various markets as well, which advances all of us. Because the sooner we can find a solution of how best do we safely open up our events and our markets, the better that people can start earning again and get the engines rolling again. We'll never open up, I believe, in the same way that we were, but it's going to be a gradual process as well. And the big wave of digitizing all of our businesses has been something that we've all been thrusted into and pushed into as well. But like Dr. Sithole mentioned, there's still the magic of being at a physical event, and people still want that human connection. And that is something that we will always fight for and defend and always try and preserve, because that's the magic that we sell as well. We sell experiences. And now it's going to be an online and offline type of experience, and seeing how we navigate to create better experiences in these parallel worlds.
Okay, thank you for that, Doctor. Or Andrew, do you have anything to add on to Theresho's response?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think from a recording point of view, through the pandemic, you know, we will eventually be back on stages, and we'll be back in clubs, and we'll be back on, you know, in festivals. But from an artistic point of view, I think that now more than ever, there needs to be a closing of the gap between record labels and artists, and record labels enabling artists to create their finest work during this downtime, because, you know, popular artists don't really have a lot of time to be in the studio creating artwork, because they're touring the world for, you know, 2 or 3 years. So use this time wisely, use it effectively to create the best work you possibly can, because I've no doubt that, you know, when there is some kind of regular world again, there will be such an appetite and desire to go and see these artists perform. So you might as well have your content ready and ready to go, because hopefully sometime soon in the future, they'll be able to perform it.
Yeah, I might also add that I've really been so impressed by the resilience of this industry, that regardless of the situation, the show just went on, the music continued. People were staging these virtual concerts, and artists became more creative, and they became comfortable in the discomfort. It became a norm, and nothing has stopped. The music is being made in studio. People are doing home virtual performances, because the relevance is very important, that they continue to be relevant. And but I was quite surprised with there was a pilot, I think, I don't know whether you saw it last week in Amsterdam, or I don't know whether it was in Amsterdam, whether it was just somewhere in the Netherlands, where they staged a live show, and everyone came there in numbers, and everyone were excited, but they wanted to test how human behave. Nobody was wearing masks. There was 1 or 2 people. So it really, it's all gonna be about how do you behave if you want to open this market, because people want to perform, people want to go and watch these shows, but if you don't remember to protect yourself and to protect the person next to you, then we're just gonna remain under lockdown forever, you know? It's about human behavior. We can put a stage tomorrow, but if you forget to put your mask and to do what is supposed to be done, government is gonna shut it down and said no, because this pandemic is real. There's no doubt about that, and you cannot defy science.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sithole. We just have one more question for you. Somebody wants to know, do you also work with international artists at the Igota festival circuits? And do you send them around? And what's the financial challenge using international artists and having them partake in these festivals?
That's a good question. That's exactly the reason why this network of festivals was established, so that we can afford to tour big international artists. Because if you book an artist to come and do 5 festivals between May and June, and we all then come in and share the touring cost, the off days, the accommodation, the daily allowances, and then negotiate the actual performance fee. I mean, because you can't say you are bringing Sting to Bushfire for 1 show. He's going to charge you $1 million. I'm just using an example. But if you are saying to Sting, we want you to come and perform at 5 festivals, you will find that there are 2 big festivals who are able to carry the bigger chunk of the performance fee, and the others are carrying the lower chunk of the performance fee. We've taught big artists. I mean, we've had Damian Marley, we've got a number of artists that have taught, they just come. So we book international festivals, artists, that's the reason why the circuit exists. And then each festival can then add their own artists in terms of the flavor of the festivals. But we would normally agree on 5 or 6 top artists that are touring.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Doctor, for that response. And I believe, Tatiana, you have a question to address to the floor?
Yes, maybe a little naive one. With the live circuit gone for the foreseeable future, if there is a young artist or coming up record label from Austria that wants to work with South Africa, what would be your #1 tip for them to get into the market if they cannot rely on the festivals or the platforms to present their artists? So if they have to move to the digital world, how would you approach it, or what would you recommend to do?
I think from my side,
if I want
to add is that it's important that, you know, there are some artists who break just through social media before they are even signed to a record label, before they are even booked for a performance, just based on their creative and how they package their work. I mean, Afrocentric Agency, for instance, we represent artists in Colombia, in Nigeria, in Mozambique, in Portugal, in Kenya, and all of that. And they continue to do the work and put a show just for showcasing, and we distribute it to interested festival directors or promoters. So to answer you directly, Tatiana, is to say they can put up a show on stage, even if it's without audiences, record it, and then send it to us, because you never know. By November, the borders might be opened. And if the borders are opened, we already know who the artist is, rather than have them only starting then to package their material. They must do that. We already have now contact with the office here. And by the way, it's not far from my house. I'm in Parkhurst. You guys are just in Dunkeld West up the road. So we would work together. And Theresho is representing some of the big festivals. And then who knows, maybe David Gresham might also be interested in releasing that artist.
Thank you so much. So what I've heard from all of our panelists is that the South African market is open, and the opportunities are there for Austrian music companies and artists to grab a hold of. And I think that as this pandemic drags out, we'll all try our best to try and navigate how to best bring the music out to the people, and also to support artists in their art. So thank you so much once again to all our panelists. This has indeed been a quite insightful session. And yeah, thank you once again, and I'd like to hand back to Rianne.
Yes, I would also like to say thank you very much to our 3 speakers for sharing your experience and your insights in the South African market. I think this was a great appetizer, and I think we have all we now all feel the urge to do more there. So it was really great to get to know you and to hear more about what you are doing and what the possibilities are. And also many thanks to Franz and Tatiana for the great partnership, and to Esther and Martin for organizing this webinar. It was a big pleasure, and also thanks to the audience for being here. As you know, this webinar was part of a series. This was the 2nd webinar, and we will have 5 in total. The next one will be on the 8th of April with a focus on the Indian market, and we will have other webinars with a focus on South Korea and on Brazil. So we hope you will join us there as well. And I hope you will have a great rest of your day. And before I forget it, if you are interested to connect to our speakers or to the South African music industry in general, please feel free to contact us and we will connect you. That was it for today. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much again, and I hope to see you all soon again. Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Bye.
Bye.